Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to thank all of you who've been joining us throughout the years. It's always been a pleasure and honor to know that you're joining us every weekend since 2004. We've been on the air for quite a while. I remember when I sometimes I run into people on the street who recognize me. They recognize mainly my voice, and they're like, "Oh, I used to listen to you when I was in high school." And now they're like professionals and they have kids. So it's been a while. We've been on the air for a while, and I really appreciate you joining us. We have a lot of information to share with you this week, as you may have heard from the summary at the top of the hour. Of course, we had Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I know he wants to be president, but he is Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who visited the United States. We also had President Claudia Sheinbaum's first state, quote unquote. It's like the State of the Union address. It's kind of a report as to what she has done, or the status of the nation in the last, well, ever since she was sworn in almost a year ago. Remember, she was sworn in October 1st. So she also had that. She also had that. It's a very important event. And also there was a meeting of the Consejo Nacional de Seguridad, which is kind of the Commission on Security, which is also public security. It's also a very important event. So I want to briefly just touch on some of the issues that President Claudia Sheinbaum reported during her State of the Union address, which she basically celebrated that 13.5 million people had escaped poverty under thanks to what they call the fourth transformation, la cuarta transformación, which of course includes the first 6 years of President Andrés Manuel Lopez Obrador. She also highlighted the peso's resilience against the dollar and a record U.S. $36 billion in foreign direct investment in the first half of the year. I don't have time right now to kind of debate that data, but that's what she reported. Also, even amid very difficult situations, she talked about how the economy showed strength, and she believes, and that once again, everybody's kind of questioning where she got this number, that Mexico will have an annual growth of 1.2%, defying the catastrophic forecast that predicted that Mexico's GDP would fall. She also urged the business community to join Plan Mexico and to help drive further growth. Now, I want to talk about the issues that have to do with security. In this report, she talked about reducing homicides by 25%. In July, she said we saw 22 fewer daily homicides than in September of 2024. So things have improved since a year ago. Some states even saw greater declines. She claims in Zacatecas, there was a decline of 75% of homicides. In Guanajuato, 60% decline in homicides. And in the state of Mexico, 45% decline. Despite what she called, bad omens, lies, and slanders, she did talk briefly about the medical program, which now reached 90% of the population. And so those are some of the information she provided during her State of the Union. Now, what was interesting is this National Public Security Council that also took place this week, where the Secretary of Public Security, Omar Garcia Harfush, said that yes, that they're confirming that the homicide rate in Mexico is the lowest since 2016, which I think is interesting. That was during the Enrique Peña Nieto presidency administration. 96% of crime has fallen under state and municipal. Now, no, excuse me, I have to correct myself. He also pointed out that 96% of all crimes fall under the jurisdiction of the state and municipalities, what's called in Spanish fuero común. So the future of Mexico depends on strengthening those policies, the local police force. Also, Interior Secretary Rosa Isela Rodriguez urged state legislators to harmonize the this law that was passed in order to find those who have disappeared. As you know, there's more than 100,000, I believe 130,000 people have been reported disappeared in Mexico. And she basically also underlined the importance of this integrating databases into the national identity platform, and where she also announced and reminded everybody that there's a biometric national ID, which is known in Spanish as CURP, which would help in locating and finding those who have disappeared. And they did talk about the National Anti-Extortion Hotline that was created in October, and they basically said that based on anonymous tips that have led to 112 arrests, and they don't say it, but the extortion has gone up quite enormously in the country. So anyway, I'm giving you all this data because this is a way of introducing today's guest. I always enjoy talking to him. Francisco Rivas, those of you who've been joining us throughout the years know him perfectly well. He presides the National Citizens Observatory, and he's been providing analysis on the situation of crime and order in Mexico. Francisco, welcome to the show. We have to remind our audience that the president keeps on insisting that the national strategy is addressing the root cause, strengthening the National Guard, enhancing intelligence and investigations, and coordinating with state governments. At least we saw some of the coordination with state governments this week at this National Public Security Council. I don't know, just your initial reactions to the president's statements regarding how much Mexico has or has not moved forward in terms of violence and security in Mexico. Welcome to the show.
Ana Maria, thank you for having me. Well, let's start with the good side, the positive side of the declarations, and also what we are seeing right now. The first thing for me is right now we have a more prepared team in security and justice. If you remember the last administration, we have people that was in charge of the National Guard, the Federal Police, at the start of the administration of President Lopez, in the interior area, and was people that was not prepared for the job.
Right.
There was no experience in the security area. Right now, we have a very good team on that side. The other thing that is very positive is we are seeing the right answer to the crimes in Mexico. And I mean, when you have organized crime killing people on the street, that it's for saying in very easy way is what happened in Mexico. We right now have a government, a federal government that is addressing the problem. And in the last 6 years of the Lopez administration, uh, under the policy called Hugs No Bank, Abrazos No Balazos,
Hugs and no bullets,
and the
which was
bullets.
President Manuel Lopez Obrador's security strategy. It sounds, when you say it in English, it sounds silly in Spanish, abrazos y no balazos, but in English, it sounds really, really silly.
And
Hugs
it
and no
was
bullets.
really silly
It
because
is.
there was no policy. It was a catchphrase, and it was actually a good catchphrase, even if it's naive. But the idea to address the causes and don't go to the and don't concentrate only in the problem could be something interesting. The problem was that it was nothing over there. So
Right.
right now we have a change, a very important change, because we are seeing the federal government uh, having a fight against organized crime. And the other very good thing that we saw this week is the participation of the president in the National Council of Security. As you remember, I used to be part of that council for many years. And when the President Lopez start, he stopped to participate in that exercise. And this is an exercise where you have federal government, all the 32, almost all the 32 governors of the
Governors. Yeah.
states, the representative of the municipality of Mexico. You
Mm-hmm.
have all the three powers of the state, so the judiciary, the legislative, and the executive, and also a few citizens that we used to be the
Civil society. I
invitados
mean,
permanentes,
it was represent. You were in basically represented civil
civil
society,
society.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we have, during the administration of Calderon, during the administration of Peña, we have a very clear and very frank, very straightforward uh, way to communicate and say, we are happy about this thing, we are not happy about these things. And in the last administration, they stopped. The president don't participate. The dialogue stops, and
Mm-hmm.
so those things for me are very good. Let's go to the points and let's go to what it's more is the content of the communication. And in the content of the communication, the president Sheinbaum use a lot of data that it's not a right one. So, for example,
Well,
she
I
claims
mean, that's the big issue, right? I mean, I think that's what we're all asking ourselves: where is this data from, or how are they? How much of this data is being manipulated? Because I'm not
the
too sure
first
they're
thing
lying. I don't think they're lying. They're just manipulating it. Is that the best way to describe it?
is the same thing. I'm sorry, but it's the same thing. So you are saying something that is not right. And
Right,
it's not right in two ways. The first thing is she claims that homicide is decreasing 25%.
right.
And
Homicides.
the data, the, let's take for aside for one moment if that data is correct or not. But if it's solid and this methodology make it good. No,
Mhm,
just numbers. The numbers are not saying what the president says.
mhm,
Homicide decreased 11%,
mhm,
not 25%. And this is for me the first thing that I don't understand. Decreasing homicide after the worst administration of the story, that is the Lopez Obrador, with the worst results about every single crime.
mhm,
It's a good thing that they decrease 11% the homicide.
mhm,
So why you can stay with the real data, I don't understand.
mhm,
But there is another problem, and it's a huge problem, that is it's real that decrease the homicide, and I'm not sure that it's right. For example, we have since last year, almost a year, a huge problem of violence in Sinaloa.
right.
Sinaloa is a state in
It's at
practically
war. It's
a
at
work,
war.
exactly, it's a
It's at
work
war.
condition.
And it's at war because the Mayito faction, the Mayo Zambada faction, is fighting the Chapos faction. And because a year ago, Mayo Zambada miraculously appeared in
In
Texas,
United States.
right, right, in the United States, right.
So, for this reason, they have a very internal war for take over the control of the Sinaloa's cartel. And
Mhm,
Sinaloa right now, it's on the war. And if you look for the data of the police of how many bodies they found without life in the streets, and
mhm,
you look for the data of media, and then you check the official data, there is no correspondence. And it's
right.
a huge difference. And the
Mhm,
same happened in another cities that are actually very in problem, like Tijuana. For
mhm,
example, in Tijuana, if you look for the data of
mhm,
the police of Tijuana reports more people, more homicides than the whole Baja California state. And
mhm,
this is impossible. So
right.
for the reason, I'm not sure if that data is correct. And
Mhm,
I'm not sure the problem born with the federation. I think the problem's born with the state, because
Mhm.
we have to remember that the official data, it's built by the information that every single state give to the federal government every single
Mhm.
month. Of course, right now in Mexico, we are almost under one party situation as we had 40, 50 years ago. Uh,
Mhm.
of the 32 states of Mexico,
Mhm.
only six are on the opposition, and
Mhm.
26 are the governors are from the same party of the
Mhm.
president. So I don't know if they put together something, they
Mhm.
agree all together to lie and change data. The real thing
Mhm.
is the data is not right. And the
Mhm.
other thing, it's also the disappearing of person. For me, it's very easy to say, well, the homicide is decreasing because they are not looking for the people that is disappearing in Mexico.
Right.
And you know that almost the huge number, the huge percent of those
Mhm.
people, it's already dead. I'm
Right.
saying with the respect
Yeah.
and with
No,
the
it's yeah. No, it's true.
of the victims, but
Mm.
this and homicide maybe is decreasing 11%, but
Mhm.
disappearing is increasing almost 30%.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure if the violence is less. And the same thing happens for the extortion. We have to remember that the official data is built by the compliance that people do with the authority. So
Mhm.
if I don't go to the prosecutor office and I say I was extort,
Mhm.
there is not official data about
Well,
that.
this hotline, the quote unquote extortion hotline, is supposed to be an answer to that.
No,
Uh, that people are
no.
supposedly calling in, reporting it, and the uh, that the state is going to automatically initiate investigation, which they couldn't do before unless there was a criminal complaint. So, but you don't think that is
The
as
first thing is
successful?
false. Until now, it's false because they claim that, but it's not
Mhm.
true. Because you have to remember the extortion is a federal and state level crime.
Right.
And maybe if you change the law, you
Mhm.
can have this. But the local law doesn't says that it's
Right.
only with the code. There
Right.
is only three states that have
Mhm.
that. And this Baja California Sur is Coahuila and this Guanajuato.
Mhm.
But in the other 29 states, it's not true that. So,
Mhm.
and let me let me tell you this. 2 weeks ago, I have an extortion call. It
Mhm.
was something that it's not. I was. I understand immediately that was extortion. So
Mhm.
I caught the communication and I called the number that is 089 and
What is the number? Could you remind our audience what number you're supposed to call?
089.
89, right, to
And
report
it
it, right.
and what the federal government says, that is a anonymous telephone number. So you say, I'm in a problem. This is the situation. They don't ask for the name. They don't ask personal data.
Mhm.
I spent 52 minutes on the phone
Hmm.
for say I was not a victim. That
Mhm.
was not a crime. But as you are claiming that you are recollecting the numbers of
Mhm. Creating a
extortion,
database of the phone numbers from where these, where, and hopefully the places where these phone calls are being made, yeah,
is my duty as citizens to call and
to
inform
report
that
it,
this number is
right.
an extortion number.
Mhm.
The lady the official that answered the phone did not have a clue. She
Oh.
didn't know how to do the report. She asked me
Mhm.
5 times for my name. She
Mhm.
asked me 5 times for my address of my home,
Mhm.
for my telephone number. So the personal data, my job, it was crazy. The call was crazy, absolutely ridiculous. So for
So,
this reason, the
uh-huh.
number that they are claiming that they create, and also this is false because that number was created under Calderon administration and continued to work during the Peña Nieto and Lopez Obrador administration. But in the Lopez Obrador administration, they fire everyone. They
Mhm.
hire people that was not training, and
They
for
were
this
not trained.
reason,
Mhm.
you have a call that should take less than 10 minutes,
Mhm.
52 minutes with a lot of mistakes. Because
Mhm.
every single time I explain to the official, well, the situation is this, I'm not a victim, but you have to report the number. This is the number. And she always make mistakes, finding the number, asking
Mhm.
me for the name. So it was terrible, terrible answer. And this is in a situation where I was not in a dangerous situation, but
Mhm.
a lot of people during in all the country, and right now we have
Mhm.
very specific examples. For example, in Laguna, on the Durango state, a
Mhm.
lot of entrepreneurs make a public compliance
Complaint. Yeah.
because complaint because they already put a complaint in the prosecutor office and nothing happened because
Mhm.
a syndicate, a workers syndicate,
Mhm.
there are extortion the entrepreneurs of the area. So you
I
can
know.
put a
Yeah.
complaint and nothing happens. So for
Well,
this
and you may
reason,
even put yourself at risk by doing that. I mean, there's a
exactly,
reason why people are not presenting criminal complaints or informing the authorities because there's an assumption that the authorities won't do anything, and two, that's those who are really extorting you, those who are going to your business, knocking on your door, threatening to burn your business, threatening to kill your
to kill
family,
you.
are going to find
Exactly.
out that you went to the authorities. And what we're finding out, especially in the last 6 months, there's been a lot of people have been actually killed because they're starting to complain of how extortions have increased around the country. Now, what I think is interesting, it seems that based on excuse me, on this meeting that took place, the government is starting to push the responsibility to to local authorities, state and municipal authorities, to take on more of these crimes because they fall under what they call the fuero común, which are crimes that are responsibility of the state and local authorities. And they're even, and the Secretary of Gobernación, she basically said, you all have to really do a better job in investigating the disappeared using the protocols that were recently approved, which is, and also this extortion law, you should be following the protocols. I mean, they're basically pushing the responsibility towards local and state authorities. I just don't think they have, one, the capability or the resources. I mean, there has been a certain amount of dismantling of local and state police forces and attorney general's office. Am I wrong? I'm pretty sure that that's part of the
No,
problem.
it's part of the problem, but it's not enough. Well, I agree that state has to do more.
Hmm.
It's absolutely right because we have to remember that the extortion and also disappearing
Hmm.
has a federal component and a local
Hmm.
component that is responsibility of the governors of the state governments.
Hmm.
So it's not wrong to say you have to do a better job, but the other hand, we have to remember that in Mexico, state level and municipality level has a very few funds, local funds, because almost all the recaudación, sorry, I
Their
don't remember the
tax
word.
the resources. I mean, they have very little
Yeah,
resources because most of the tax.
taxes are federal. So we
Okay.
pay federal at the federal level, and then the federal level give the money to state for security,
Mhm.
for health, for education, and for everyone. The problem is in the last administration we lost 40% of the budget of police and prosecutor
What?
office
Can
at
you
the
repeat
state
that number
level.
again? What percentage?
40%
40% for local police,
for state
for
police,
state
for
police.
state prosecutor office, But for 4 years in a row, municipality receive zero. So they have the money the pay the policemen, but they don't have
Salaries, to pay
money, the
salaries, yeah.
salaries, but
Mhm.
they don't have money for buy a patrol car, for
For
training
gasoline,
someone, for
for gas,
gasoline. So
yeah.
they have just the money for pay the salary, nothing more.
Wow.
So you want that state and local level do their job when
Mhm.
there is no clarity what with what, because we lost since 2018 to 2024
Mhm.
40%, but we start this administration with another cut in the budget of 60%,
Oh.
so 16%. And so you give them less money right now than
Mhm.
the money that received security
Mhm.
in the Fox administration some 20 25 years ago.
Mhm.
And have to consider it that how expensive right now is the way of life, how
Mhm.
expensive are all the
Yeah.
expenses. So for this reason, it's even less than money that we had in 4 years, 4 administrations ago. The other thing that it's very interesting is right now we have a very complex situation on the state level. And that complex situation is you have at least six governors that are more, we have more than suspicious that they are part of the cartels and the organized crime.
They are linked to criminal organizations, at
But
least six. That's, there may be more, but
a
because we
link
haven't.
is a very uh, I think it's more than that because we have a list, for example, the Rocha Moya or the San Luis Potosi, that is, they are not linked, they are part of the organized crime.
Rocha Moya is is the governor of
The
Sinaloa, right? And
Exactly,
Galindo is the from San Luis
San Luis
Potosí. He's the
Potosí.
governor. Yeah, I mean,
But
there
we
is a
have the
lot
same
of evidence
situation.
that would indicate that there may be some link to criminal organizations. Not more than a link, that they basically are active assets of these organizations. And now, of course, then you have all these other governors that one way or the other may or may not have received money to get elected during the elections, which also creates some kind of
And
link
we
to
have
this
the
issue.
same problem with legislative, local and federal legislative. We have the same problem with
Mayors.
municipalities.
Hmm.
So you are saying to a police to fight organized crime when his boss
Hmm.
is part of the organized crime? Really?
Hmm.
So for this reason, even if the state had the power to fight organized crime, and they don't have right now, because
Hmm.
these organizations are very dangerous, are very strong, they have a lot of resources, they have more resources than a single local government. You are asking to do something that it's almost impossible to the states. So
Well,
for this reason, I think it's right that you, as the Minister of Interior says, as Secretary of Interior says, you have to do your part. But with what?
you don't have the
With no money,
resources.
with
Well,
no
yeah.
support,
Hmm.
with a governor that it's involved in organized crime. So I'm
Well,
not that optimistic about. I think it's good that president takes her time to say we are involved in this subject. We are want to solve this problem. We are
yeah.
putting together a new law. We have this will to do well, to do better,
Hmm.
and you have a good team in a federal level, but it's nothing respect the huge problem that we had. We in the observatory in 2017 look for what the government needs to put together as
Hmm.
a figure, as a money for try to start to solve the problem of
Hmm.
police that is underpaid,
Right.
under training, under
Yeah.
resources. And in 2017, we says if we have 38,000 billion of pesos that we use for security, we need to add to those 38,000, we need to add other 255,000 million of pesos. So it's a huge number, and it's almost
It's impossible.
it's the
It sounds
75% of what more of we are expending, and this is only for start, for put together. For example, there are states where there is no practically patrols for solve the problem of security. In 2017, we find that in all the Colima state, that is a small state, but still in all the state, between municipality and state level, there was only 13 patrols that is working.
patrol cars. Whoa.
Patrol. So, and we go and to say how many of these police received training in the last 2 years. And it was 10% of the police of all the country. So we need to put together a plan that is not only goodwill, but as you say in Mexico, I when I made my PhD, I remember a phrase that was amazing. And for me, every single time I start to understand the public administration under that phrase, you see the love on the budget. If
You
you
see
want,
the love, say that in Spanish. Ves el amor del,
ves el amor en el presupuesto.
right. I
If
mean,
you
either you're
want to
serious
solve
or
a
not
problem,
serious about solving the
exactly,
problem.
you
Right.
put the budget.
Right.
If you don't want to solve a problem, you just claim a lot of things, but you are not doing enough. And in this case, for do enough, for reduce crime, you need to put in jail, at least investigate governors, at least have to clean a prosecutor office and police at the level and the federal, state, and local level. And you have to put money for train, for give, for pay well, because also a
You
lot
have to
of
pay
people
people well.
don't receive even the minimum that the government established.
Right.
There are police here in Mexico that receive $400 a month at salary. Is not
That's
the way to
impossible.
solve a
That's
yeah, it's
impossible.
not the way to solve the problems.
So we're running out of time. We're running out of time. You got to come back soon because this is going to be this issue, and of course the economy are going to be the issues that are knocking on the door. And there's just on the president's at the palace, at the presidential palace, because it's just the data she's providing. I know she wants to give good news, or at least show that there's been a change in strategy and that there is political will to try to solve this, or at least start solving the problem of security. But it's just, I'm like you, I'm still a little bit confused as to whether there is enough political will, or clearly there's not enough resources. I always appreciate you joining us. Francisco Rivas, he heads the National Citizens Observatory. He's been joining us throughout the years. Thank you so much for joining us here on Living in Mexico.
Thank you, Ana Maria.
Thank you. We are going to go to a commercial break. Please don't go away. I am Ana Maria Salazar, and you're listening and watching Living in Mexico.